What's going on, good people? This is the common man, Nate Lewis, with the common take on UFC. And today is a very special podcast as I have a co-host for today. Lewis, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Nate. How are you, sir?
Man, you know me, it's another day in paradise. So let's get right to it. This UFC 196 card, or was the UFC 196 card, it was just cursed. We were 2 weeks away from the event itself when Cain Velasquez got hurt, citing a back injury, which should come as no surprise if you've been following Cain the last couple of years. He seems to be a little bit injury prone, but Lewis, what was your thoughts when you heard that Cain was out for this fight?
It was frustrating to hear it because he does have a tendency to get hurt. It happened. Is the second time now it happened?
Yeah, and really recently too. I mean, he's been out for almost 3 years.
And it happened like right the month before the fight's supposed to happen.
This guy's got like maybe some of the worst luck aside from maybe, I don't know, Dominic Cruz that I've ever seen in mixed martial arts. But so Cain's announced that he's out. UFC grants Stipe Miocic his title shot that he basically yelled at Dana to give. And
my title shot, Dana.
I love Stipe. I was excited actually to see this fight. I wasn't actually going to order 196 to see Cain versus Verdun, but when Stipe got the shot, I started to get excited. And then Fabricio pulls out. I never really got an official, what was his reasoning for pulling out of the fight? Lewis, do you know what happened with Fabricio?
I think I read that he had injuries, like previous injuries, I think on MMAfighting.com.
Yeah, and he cited that he was injured, obviously for a while, but was willing to fight Cain anyway with the injuries. And when the fight got changed and Stipe was given the shot, he said he was not for me. I'm good on this one. I'm the champion and I'm not going to fight here. And Fabricio got quite a bit of blowback and quite a bit of backlash on all social media platforms. Do you think Verdun stepping out of this fight was a smart decision?
I don't know, man. It's weird because he said that he had previous injuries that he was willing to fight Cain with, but he didn't want to fight Stipe. It's just funny to me.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one. You spend months preparing for, this Cain fight, we've known about this rematch since, God, when was that last fight? Was that October? So he knows this rematch was coming up next. So he trained for Cain, and Stipe's a different fighter altogether. But at the same time, you're in camp, you're ready to go. Stipe just got off a fight.
Yeah.
And now he's expected to come in and do a 5-round with the champion. You think, Fabricio would just love the chance to knock off a future contender in a weakened state, much like Conor did with Chad Mendes. But, that's just the nature of the beast. Fabricio made his decision, and I don't think it's the right decision. You take a look at, I mentioned earlier, Chad Mendes. Chad stepped up on short notice, and the UFC, no matter how Chad fares out these next couple of fights, UFC is indebted to Chad Mendes for saving that card. So no matter how many fights he loses in a row, UFC is going to have his back.
Can we cuss on here?
Go for it, man.
But Chad got his ass whooped, and then after that got stomped by Edgar.
Yeah, but even those two losses, the UFC still sees him as a guy that helped them get, 800,000 buys for UFC 189 and really save that card. So yeah, it sucks in the short term. Chad's got a long way to go to get back in title contention, but he's in the good graces with the UFC.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like Diego Sanchez, the whole,
Oh yeah, and when's the last time Diego's won a fight? I have no idea when the last time he's won a fight.
He beat Pearson, I think.
Big win for Diego there. And I don't want to disrespect Diego. Diego's one of my favorite fighters ever.
Love Diego.
The first season of Ultimate Fighter, other than being a huge fan of Forrest, Diego was another reason to watch that show. And as a pro wrestling fan, we have, the Yes Chance that we love so much. That's Diego's.
That's because of Diego.
So yeah, big props to Diego, man. No disrespect here, man. We love you.
Yeah.
But after Verdun pulls out, we get a snowball effect. I'm not sure if you kept up, but John Jones gets on Twitter and,
What was that about?
Yeah, John basically tweets that he'd be willing to fight Stipe, but he would only do it if it was for the actual UFC heavyweight title, not an interim title. Which, I mean, I have my own feelings on John Jones, but I mean, John's trying to, make that appearance that he's a new John Jones. He's willing to take on whoever, whenever. And he's still trying to make up for that, I think it was UFC 151 pay-per-view that collapsed because of him as well. But as soon as I saw that tweet, I just said bullshit.
He was trolling.
It's gotta be. I mean, I'm surprised the tweet wasn't deleted 3 seconds later. But John Jones was there announcing he would do that. UFC actually got a hold of Nate Diaz and Anthony Pettis to possibly set up that fight to replace the main event. Josh Barnett said he'd be willing to fight either, I believe he said he would be willing to fight either Stipe or move his fight with Ben Rothwell for the main event or fight for an interim title. At the end of the day, UFC decided to get... Actually, I should take that back. The Pettis and Nate Diaz fight was pretty close to being done, and for whatever reason, and that'll come out later, I'm sure, that fight wasn't able to be made. But at the end of the day, they decided to take this event off of pay-per-view and put it as a FS1 card. How do you feel about a pay-per-view? First of all, I would have canceled the pay-per-view itself entirely, but they decided not to do that and just move it to a FS1 card.
I mean, it is guaranteed money, though. People are going to watch it. Ratings for the Fox Sports 1.
And I guess it is cheaper to do that as opposed to refunding tickets for the event. I get that part of it. But just to me now, this is a disaster. I mean, it's in the long run, is it going to affect UFC? No. But this is not a good look. This is not a good look. And you can't blame Kane. You can't blame Verdum. That's just the nature of the beast with injuries. But this is something the UFC hopes doesn't happen in the future. And Dana, anytime something like this happens, he's ready to make some changes.
Right.
But the card was moved, and I got news today, actually, inside of our group here that they're actually considering now that the UFC 197 pay-per-view will now be UFC 196.
Yeah, I'm so lost on that because I heard a bunch of people say they're 197 is 96, but the dates are the same, or I don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, and I'm gonna give a little plug to Dave Meltzer with Wrestling Observer. He kind of explained it a little bit. Yes, the 197 card will take place same day, same time, same venue, and it's now UFC 196. And I asked in the group itself, does that mean UFC 200 is pushed back to August? Because if it was, hey, put Nick Diaz on the card. I'm ready to go. But it was explained, Dave explained that they don't have a card right now lined up for May. So they just may add another card in May to get the numbers to balance back out. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure who you would stick on the card now in May. You kind of have to go ahead and announce something now.
Yeah, because, yeah.
But, so that's 196, or the X196 as we know it. And we now know that UFC 196 will be headlined by Conor McGregor versus Rafael Dos Anjos. And semi-main event, Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate. Lewis, do you have any predictions on those two fights, or how do you think the card will do itself?
Well, I'll say right now, Miesha Tate is going to give Holly a better fight than Ronda.
Huh. Okay. All right.
Ronda, I don't know what was going on. Edmund's a dumbass for having her box with Holly.
You won't find me disagreeing with that one.
So Miesha's stand-up is better, but I don't think she's going to do that. I think she's going to try and, double leg like Ronda should have done, at least grapple more.
I will say this. And this is, I mean, if you listen to the Fighter and the Kid podcast, I don't, but some of you might. That's cool. Actually, thought Brendan Schaub actually brought up a pretty good point. Him and Ronda were in a relationship that Ronda's knees aren't in the best shape.
Yeah.
So it prevents her from doing kind of more wrestling takedowns, and she relies heavily on judo takedowns, which Holly, being a stronger woman than Ronda, was able to negate a lot of that. And I do agree with you that Misha will have an advantage with her wrestling background. She'll be able to give Holly some different looks for a takedown. But I mean, I've watched Tate fight now for the last couple years, and I believe Holly's just gonna pepper her. Just, hit her with straights, work foot movement, and I see this being an easy win for Holly.
I don't know, Nate. I think you're on a losing side there.
Well, we'll revisit this. We'll have you back on the show after the event, and we'll go and we'll see who's right on that one.
The "I told you so" episode.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll eat crow if I'm wrong. I have no problem with that. But we have to look at the elephant in the room when it comes to the women's bantamweight division, and that is Ronda Rousey. She obviously won't be able to compete, or won't be available to compete for UFC 200. In your opinion, do you think no matter who wins this fight in March, the next opponent for them will be Ronda?
I don't know. They might have Ronda fight if they want to. Do they have any other fights scheduled for 200, like title fights?
Right now, nothing is set in stone for 200. Everything's on the please nobody get hurt and have everybody we want to win philosophy, which always works well in MMA. But nothing's signed right now. Just the timeline would match up that if Ronda was available for 200, that would be the direction, obviously, that you would go.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be Ronda. Wait. Yeah, I think it'll be Ronda.
See, what makes me think that it almost has to be Ronda is, I mean, do you know of any 135ers that has a fight coming up now other than, Ashley Evans Smith, who, I mean, I love her to death. I'm a big fan of hers. She's coming off a loss in a suspension. And as far as I know, there's no other big time 135ers fighting anytime soon. And this is a major problem the UFC is having, is actually getting these girls fights and setting someone up as a contender.
They don't have any big names, but they do have Amanda Nunes, who just wrecked. She beat Jessica Ai.
Yeah, and Amanda Nunes, I mean, Miesha Tate turned that fight down. So that kind of lets you know how the other women in the division are feeling. I mean, if Amanda gets a fight coming up here soon and Ronda's not ready by, let's say, July and August, yeah, whoever wins this fight faces Amanda Nunes. I'm all for that one.
Is Kat scheduled to fight, or is she even cleared?
I know she's training right now. If you follow her Instagram very closely, like I do, or anything Kat posts for that matter, she is getting in fighting shape, but no fight scheduled yet. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Kat. But the main event, Rafael, Conor McGregor. Conor going for the UFC lightweight championship and would be the first fighter in UFC history to hold two belts in two weight classes. Does Conor get it done?
I don't think so.
Man, me and you're going to have a fun podcast this next night. All right. I got to ask you, how do you think RDA wins this fight versus Conor?
Wrestling.
So your best bet is just him, Rafael obviously being superior in the wrestling game, just taking him down, ground and pound, and grinding out a decision?
Yeah. If Chad could do it, if he says he wasn't 100%, if Chad could do that to Conor, then I think Dos Anjos can do it.
I don't believe in, I gave Chad credit earlier for taking that fight on short notice, but I mean, even being on the ground, Chad, had some shots on Conor, but Conor has a great chin. He took everything Chad gave him. And I mean, a lot of people downplay those body shots that Conor was given to Chad as a possible reason why Chad gassed out. I mean, I see this fight with Conor kind of going, if Conor can get, work his footwork, kind of get in and out with his jabs, he's got power in his hands, and he's not cutting weight for that fight, or not cutting the same amount of weight for this fight. I don't see this fight going past 2 rounds. I think Conor takes this one as well. and maybe that's just a fan in me wanting to see Conor then step up and fight Robbie Lawler at UFC 170 or at UFC 200. That's what I want to see. I want to see Conor and Robbie.
Okay, that's crazy talk.
No, it's not crazy talk. And then after Conor wins that fight at 200, then he can go ahead and fight Luke Rockhold hold that belt, and just don't defend any of the belts. Just win them and keep moving up. Just do that. I mean, right now UFC with Ronda being on is all Conor, so I got to root for the man to win.
Oh no, man, the Robbie thing was so funny because Robbie's a monster.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of Robbie, did you see the Lawler and Condit fight?
I saw the last round.
You saw? Okay, I watched that whole fight, and it seems that the UFC, and this is kind of branching to a bigger topic, it seems that anytime we have a decision in these 5-round fights, it's always controversial, whatever the decision is. That fight itself, I have Robbie winning just off the fact that I thought he did more damage throughout the fight. I mean, obviously you've probably seen the statistics on the fight itself. Condit was landing more strikes, more significant strikes, which is a bullshit stat, by the way. Just about every strike is counted as a significant strike. But
it's not a jab, basically.
Yeah, and they're counting stuff that hits the glove and things like that. I mean, we need to really redo the significant strikes or just get rid of it. But it brings up a good point. What do you count more? Do you count strikes landed as more of an indicator of winning a round, or should it be most damage?
Most damage should count because it's they're gonna finish that. Those are gonna finish the opponent, and that's how Pride was. The act of attempting to finish the opponent is what would win people fights, decisions.
Exactly. And I agree with you on that. And there's been a call lately, even after the Dominic Cruz and Dillashaw fight, where there was a little controversy on that, which I didn't see. I thought Cruz won that easily. Abandoning the 10-point must system and just going with the Pride way of who won the fight at the end. And I think that might be something the UFC might want to take a look at.
They really should, because it causes a lot of problems. The fans who don't even understand the 10-point must system are confused by it, and they get that, Pride rules are gonna, attempting to finish should be easy to understand. The submission attempts, rocking someone on the feet.
Lewis, can you explain the 10-point must system to me? Because I thought I knew what it was, but apparently I get this wrong almost every fight.
You got me, man.
I mean, I look at it now, it's like, what do you almost have to decapitate a man and get a 10-8 now. Which,
exactly.
I mean, the way I look at it is that I know they said that the winner of the round gets 10. There's rounds where you look at two guys and you can't decide who won the round. To me, that's a 10-10. If neither guy, you can't decide who won a round, it's a 10-10. If a guy wins a round, it's a 10-9. To me, it becomes a 10-8 if he's the aggressor or, things like that, or it's pretty one-sided. And then 10-7 or even lower if the guy's almost finished. I think it should be like that, but I mean, you're leaving it in the hands of judges to interpretate what they consider to be a dominant round. It's just a mess. It's really just a mess.
I didn't get to see it, but did you get to see the Jacare Romero fight?
I did, and I am in the school of thought that Jacare either won that fight or that fight should be a draw.
Was the first round a 10-8?
The first round was a 10-8. Yoel definitely stomped out Jacare. I wouldn't go as far as to say it would have been he was close to finishing Jacare, but he definitely dominated the round. But and this goes back to the fence grabbing thing. Like, everybody gets warnings now. Eye pokes or grabbing the fence or punches to the back of the head. They're so quick to warn you or to give you so many warnings. That fence grab changed the whole second round. And I'm one of them people that's a big Jacare fan. And to me, he got screwed. He got screwed. And even more to the point on that, then your boy Yoel, and is this official that he failed a out of competition test, or is it still pending?
I believe it's official.
Now, how does that look now?
But if he did pop, who's going to be surprised there?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, the man is just genetically it makes me feel inferior as a man. I will say that. I don't even let my wife watch when Jacare's on TV. So, and much less Romero, who's like chiseled from granite, it seems like. But
USADA has stated that it's a violation.
It is a violation. Okay. So he's looking at possibly being out 2 years?
That's the rules, unless they want to throw 5 in for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, we need more Nick Diaz cases out there. We'll just, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to give you 5. All right, everybody. I have to apologize. We started talking about Nick Diaz, and all of a sudden, the ghost of the Nevada State Athletic Commission decided to suck the audio into the ether. So, unfortunately, me and Lewis went on for about another 15, 20 minutes just talking MMA, and unfortunately, that audio is gone. But we will have Lewis back on the show at some point, so stay tuned for that. Just want to say, however you're listening to the show, whether it be SoundCloud or iTunes or Stitcher, thank you so much for listening. And you can definitely subscribe to the iTunes podcast, SoundCloud podcast, on Stitcher, Podomatic also, which I didn't even know exists, but I got the show up there as well. Also, shows will be available on YouTube. Right now, you can look for Pseudo Memories Photography, which is my photography company. But I will be having a new YouTube channel where you can also find the podcast. If you're not the type to just download audio, you can stream it on YouTube. Also have a website, and write this website down, get it copied. It'll be in the description, but it is thecommonmanpodcast.weebly.com. That's thecommonmanpodcast.weebly.com. There you'll find links to all of the podcasts that I have available. Also, you'll get little blogs every now and then updating you on when a show is coming up. Little news that I got from different sources, all types of fun stuff. Check it out. Get up there. And finally, there is a Facebook page for the podcast, The Common Man Podcast. You can find that on Facebook. Like it, get notifications of when a new show is coming up. Also, join the discussion. So, yes, we are everywhere. I want to thank you guys so much for listening. Just feel really bad you guys missed that audio. We even had Ronda Rousey call in, and we talked to her for a few minutes as well. But maybe next time. Anyway, guys, peace and chicken grease.